Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sorry for this, but there is some footage of this episode that will be forever lost. I tried to record some, but I got a little too personal with some of what I said, and I didn't want somebody to because I care about people. Um, I do care about people, and I feel like how do I put this? I feel as though not Golden Shiner. Awesome. Um, so I'm here right now. Catching some Shiner. But I want to make it clear. I do care about people. I do, and so I don't want people to take it the wrong way. And I was frustrated about work. So it will forever be lost because I went into detail about some. Um, Sorry guys, it just happened that way. I just deleted the episode, so hopefully we can continue this episode and hopefully we can complete the quest. But I don't want somebody to get find this episode and get angry. I don't know why it's not going like it's eight eight. Release to level 4. Okay, great. But that's the way it is sometimes. I have to delete footage because I talk a little bit too much and I get a little bit frustrated and I don't want to lose what I have before I'm ready to. Believe me, when I actually quit, when I actually leave my job, you guys are going to get a big old rant and I will be very happy to leave that world behind. Um, and it was especially frustrating because um, upper management involved, and but you know what I do want to know, or what I do want to know. MLK Day was just around the corner, or was just celebrated, right? And I want to know, do you guys know some of this stuff? Uh, and a lot of people count MLK as a Christian, and I cannot say with absolute that he wasn't. Right? I can't. I can't say for certain that he wasn't because I don't know. But I will tell you. Oh, my rod has no tackle. But okay, tackle. Maybe. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. Tinker. Tinker. I'm missing a float. Bobbers. What am I missing? Bells? Thinkers. Stop. Peter. Okay, I've officially purchased everything but all the hooks. Please tell me I can... Has no tackle. What am I... I've got bait. Maybe if I select the bait. Deeper bait. Okay, let me try this. No. It says the rod in slot 1 has no tackle. Um, okay, good. But you know, I don't want to throw away actually was the bridges. Uh, Basically, don't burn a bridge before you've crossed it. So that please, please, that because that's not need. We're looking for a blacktail shiner. Another bluegill. Release that. Another bluegill. So, question of the day. I've been asking this. Favorite TV villain? Put it down below in the comments. And Golden Shiner, I need black. I'm gonna release you because that's closer. Maybe with good luck. But favorite TV villain, everyone, because um, you know, reasons and things. And this does not have to be a specific kind of show. It could literally be um cartoon you watched with my personal favorite, Tasha Patel and Boris Badenov. Yes, duos count as one character because um they're never seen without each other, and I don't know. I just feel like they should. So, but I'm really at a loss of it today because usually talk about a lot of different things. There's a lot of things that I could talk about. Trying not to get banned. Um, straight tank. Oh, I didn't even see where it said. As I walk by the dark side, what fluttering. Blacktail! Yes, we're keeping it. We're claiming it. It's ours. Well, yeah. I got it before the fish was hooked, but it was down in there and it stopped. I don't understand the way these fish. Trophy bluegill. Ah, that's not on my list. Critter sound. Oh, let me see the. Didn't say where to go. I'm gonna release it because that's not what after. I don't know why you guys tend to like these fishing games. I at a loss of for anything to talk about. It literally not very exciting. It's just me catching fish. But if that's what you guys want, green sunfish. That's not what I need. I'm gonna release it. You know what? I think I'm going to tell you. I know it's January, but January still. Blacktail Shiner. Nope. Release. Okay, he was straight up distracting me. New personal record for a crappie. I will release it because, again, that's not what I'm after. Nice that I got a record. I don't know what really to talk about, you guys. You know what? I'm gonna go ahead and talk about. Um, Martin Luther King Day was just celebrated, and a lot of people consider him Christian. I I'm not going to say that he's not because I don't know the part when he passed away. But I want to know what you guys think about this. He denied, if you look at the records, many basic tenets of the faith. He denied the deity of Christ. He denied the virgin birth. He denied that Jesus rose again from the dead. Um, this is all a matter of public record. You can actually look at it. Now, am I saying he wasn't? Because this was early in his life. Okay, this early then in his life. So he could have recanted, but he's not on record as having recanted. And I know his granddaughter is Dr. Alvira King, um, is a good Christian, God fearing woman. I don't necessarily know if she wants to answer these claims. Um, that would be up to her if this gets to her. By the way, if it does, Dr. Alvira, love your work. Wonderful woman. Um, much obliged. Thank you for all you do. Um, hope your family's well. Um, but I really do want to know what you guys think. Is there evidence that Dr. King was actually a Christian? By all accounts, he wanted to make a lot of things in this country. Not very, I'm not going to say his work with race relations was not wonderful. That was necessary, that was great, that was wonderful, and I admire him for that. But there were other things he said that I will be honest, I am not the biggest um fan of. I can't give you exact quotes, but apparently there was a lot of stuff that he believed that was socialism. And as you well know, uh, I don't believe the Bible list. I don't believe that the Bible is inherently pro government overall. I believe that the Bible has very good guidelines for a government and the way a government should be set up with the judges and different things that are done, the cities of refuge and things of that nature. By the way, cities of refuge were not full blown sanctuary cities. They were cities that people who got in accident could go to, like, if somebody killed somebody accidentally and it was an accident and it could be proven it was an accident. Um that kind of thing. Then they were told to go to these and be until a certain time. It was not a place where just anybody could go and live. I don't want anybody having any misconceptions about sanctuary city. The Bible is very clear about citizenship and the way citizenship is. In the Old Testament, they were to confess that they were going to, and they were to confess with their mouth, hey, we're gonna live by your ways, our God's gonna be your God, or your laws are our laws, and all that jazz. And as much as I am pro legal immigration, let's just be honest. That's not what people are doing. They're not going and saying, hey, we're going to abide by your laws, we're going to abide by your ways, we're going to speak your language. By the way, yes, I believe that should be a requirement. I believe you should be able to speak the language. I believe you should be able to talk the language properly. Do I mean you gotta be perfect? No, of course not. I'll give you a prime example. Okay, two prime examples. No, three. Okay, this is off the beaten path, off the cuff, at my work. And when I say at my work, I mean at my work. So, here is the basics. Okay, here's the basics. Basics are this. When one day, story one, one day when I was at my work in the break room, I wasn't even clocked in yet. The cleaning lady, who is Hispanic, and she's a very nice woman. I don't mean to begrudge her or belittle her in any way. Um, she and this other front desk lady we're talking in Spanish. Okay? I have no problems with this. If it were just me there, I get it. You want to have a private conversation. Two complaints I have. Two. Two. Number one, even if I'm just the only one there, it's rude to conversate in another language that I do not understand. In front of me, having a conversation that I am not a part of. It is rude. The etiquette is you should have to, if you are in a public setting, if you are not in a room by yourself and I walk up to you, speak in my language, speak in English. And again, I'm not saying you have to speak it perfectly, but have the courtesy to talk about whatever you're talking about in the language that I know, that I understand. Public places are not the place for private conversation. Sorry if that is an if that is a problem with you. You need to go and learn how to be a part of a polite society. If you want to have a private conversation with someone, you need to be in a room alone, or you need to invite them to go somewhere else in your off time and make friends that way. I know that makes some people angry, but I don't care. It makes me more angry when you talk about things that I don't understand in a language that I don't understand, that I don't have time to learn because I'm so busy hustling and working and making a living and trying to come up with ways to make a living that is a little bit different, so I don't have to do something for necessarily something else forever. Okay? And I know this is gonna make some people mad. I don't care. I do not care. I know I just deleted some footage because I tried to make everybody feel comfortable. I'm done with that for tonight because I'm exhausted and I'm tired and I'm frustrated about it. Okay, here's the other thing about Spanish speaking individuals and people who talk Spanish right in front of you. This is more of a funny story than anything else. Um, and again, I'm not going to mention many names. But I had a friend who, and this is part of the reason I don't like when Spanish speakers speak Spanish in public in front of you and try to carry on a private conversation. Um, this individual, friend of mine, young lady, wonderful person, um, she had a conversation with me concerning this because it was I told her the very same day that it happened, and she said, "Oh, I know." And it doesn't get much better when you're bilingual. Um I did a paper on it and I recounted a um experience that I had at one of my jobs. I don't know if it was the one that I work at with her or somewhere else. But she basically was out in public working one of her jobs, and um she heard the Spanish speakers talking. She was she's bilingual, by the way. She learned for work because of extra coin, extra ching ching in the pocket, as it were. Um, and they started talking, and as they talked, um, they basically said, commented on the size of her chest area and what a good mother she would make. Now, that is not. By the way, can we just say here in America, if somebody said that in English, um, they would get slapped so hard they would find themselves in the middle of next week, right? Um, and rightfully so. And I don't know, it may be seen as a respectful comment in Hispanic culture to do, but my guess is that it might not be, and they were using their Spanish speaking skills thinking, ha ha ha, this woman cannot speak Spanish, and we will be able to say whatever we want about her and she won't overhear us, right? That's what I'm thinking anyway. Um, she clapped back just as respectfully as you please. She said, "Sir, I work here. This is my job, and I expect to be treated with some respect. And I don't like the way you're talking about me. And if you continue to talk this way, I can get the manager and tell him exactly what you said. I can actually record this conversation and I can show him exactly what you said, by the way. Um, which, technically speaking, he could have done. Um, Now, again, am I saying it was disrespectful in their culture to do what they did? I do not know. Like, I really do not know. It could be just fine in to do such a thing. But that's part of the reason I am not completely open borders. Because there needs to be a class of etiquette taught, and there needs to be a class of language taught so that they are taught proper etiquette and proper speech when it comes to English. Not, again, then not perfect. They don't have to talk. They don't have to speak it perfect. They literally can speak it at a basic level and communicate their ideas well. Um, and I believe that will do well enough for most situations. However, I believe that they should have to speak at least a rudimentary level of English. And there's some people that get absolutely angry with me for saying such a thing. Um, and they have a right to do so. Um, but just because you're angry don't mean you're right. Um, I will talk about other things at the end of this episode that get me may get the banhammer down on me. But that will be okay. Um, because it's current events and it's going on, and we need to talk about it. Um, but I'm not against people who are from a foreign country coming here. Um, there are two specific individuals that I can think of one male, the other female, that are regular customers, or at least semi-regular customers in my area. And the man, he's rather rotund, and he's always jolly. He's like, my friends, how are you today? That kind of thing. And I'm always like, I'm doing good, man. How are you? And he comes up with the biggest hug on the planet. And um, I love seeing the guy. I love seeing his smiling face. He and his wife, both of them are wonderful people, but he also doesn't speak English very well, and he's always saying basic at a basic level. He's saying things, and Golden Shiner will release that because that's not what I need. Um, but he will say, um, he will get in the middle of his speech and he'll say, I'm looking for, and he'll pause. He'll say, oh, what's the term? And he'll describe it with his motions and with his words as much as he can. And I appreciate that he's actually doing that instead of pulling up an app and trying to text random words into an app. Number one, the number one reason I don't like when they use an app is because, hey, guess what? Those apps, they destroy your mind. When I say they destroy your mind, I mean electronic signals. If you use them too much, if you depend on them too much, that is what, like smartphones. Okay, a smartphone will destroy your mentality and your thinking processes. Um, it has actually been proven that they will actually stop you from being able to think properly. Um, and there's all kinds of people, or there's all kinds of ways people are getting around it. People are getting back into commonplace books, and they're getting into different um how do I put this? They put um how do I put this? They're going back to lower tech devices. They're doing commonplace books. They're journaling more, and I think it's very refreshing. I try to do that a little bit myself. I do commonplacing myself, and um, I do heavy journaling, heavy planning, with pen and paper, all kinds of different things with pen and paper. If you want to hear more about that, I will gladly tell you more about my systems and things that I do. I don't have a problem with that whatsoever. Um, if you guys want to hear what else I'm doing, I do try to do the whole commonplace book thing. I can explain what that is if you would like, in another episode as well. I can't say I can't do it all. But the other thing is with the apps, they waste my time. I'm constantly fiddling with technology at work when I should be helping customers. There are customers every day that surround me, and you would not believe the amount of people that get frustrated because I'm fiddling with my app. I'm fiddling with my things that need to be fiddled with. I would love to be able to take my phone and put it in my locker every day and just put it in my locker for safekeeping and just let it ride out the day and not touch it until breaks. That would be a lovely thing to be able to do. But the problem is, I use it as my timer. I use it as my. I use it to keep in touch with family because you would not believe the amount of times that I'll be in the middle of work. And hey Bryce, can you do something for me? Can you order this? Can you do this? Um, and my answer, of course, is yes, but I'm also very annoyed with people and the way they behave when it comes to getting a hold of me. There are times when I will be in the middle of work and they'll be like, "Why didn't you answer my?" Well, I was working. Um, and not just. Hang on a sec. Okay, I'm back. Basically, I'm kind of stuck and attached to my phone. Even listen to this. Even our training and our stuff we have to do on computer, I have to log in with my. I have to actually have my phone with me, and I have to be able to receive a text. And they'll say, oh, but you can also use email. Well, what if I don't have any of them? What if I'm an old man who's 80 something years old? I don't have a cell phone. I have a landline at my house. I don't have an email. I don't even have a computer. Okay? Um, what you're telling that 80-year-old man, what you're telling that 70 something year old man, and I do know people who actually legitimately they do not have a phone. They do not have a how do I put this properly? They do not have a phone. They do not have a um computer. I will say this, my own grandmother, she does not have a computer, and she has a phone, but it does not text. This being my grandmother on my mother's side. Um, she you can call her and she'll answer, and she's a lovely woman. But she doesn't text, right? So because she does not text and does not have an email because she doesn't have a computer, you're telling my grandmother, who has been on this earth for 70 something years, that she has no right to work at my place of employment if she wants. And she's thought several times about getting a job somewhere. Uh, and the thing about it is, it's not just my place where I work, where I actually have a lot of people that depend on me. It's a it's a lot of different workplace. And comment down below. Um, do you yourselves have a work system that requires the use of your cell phone and requires the use of your email address? By the way, let's go into that a little bit more, shall we? Um, because I don't necessarily like the idea of I do not actually like the idea of, and let's be completely honest, the idea of, how do I put this properly? I don't like the idea of having to use my personal items for work business. Like, I just don't. We have work phones, yes, but they don't perform the same function as our personal phones. They don't text, and they don't have their own individual number. Like, I can't put the number for my work phone in when I have one, because that's another thing altogether different. Um, I don't always get a work phone because me working the department that I do, I am kind of the low man on the totem pole. You know what I'm saying? I'm not the one that's really. It's really important that I have one. But even if I was able to get one 100% of the time, I can't put my extension for my department in and get a text for my work login. I have to use my personal phone. And I can't necessarily, I don't have necessarily a work email that I can put in and use. Others do. I do not. And, but me personally, I do not have a internet email for my um work stuff that I can get sent to my work inbox and get that code. I have to use my personal email. And I think that's a violation of privacy, guys. I legitimately do. I think if you're having to use your personal cell phone or your personal email to do security checks on your work stuff, that means somebody that's hacking work stuff could potentially get your email or your phone number because you logged in to work with your phone number. Potentially. Now, I think that's a danger, right? Uh, and at the very least, it's something that ought not be done. The only thing you should be able to have of mine to contact me is my phone number. And the only thing you should be allowed to use it for, in my personal opinion, okay, this could be, I want to make it clear. This is not me a mandate for the way work should be done. But in my personal opinion, the only time you should be able to use my phone is if you need to contact me and call me in. Blacktail Shiner, I'll go ahead and release that. Finally, I'm going to talk about something that's quite near and dear to my heart, and that is current events. You know, I always like talking about current events with you guys. So apparently, in Minnesota, there was a church. Yeah. And in it may have actually been Michigan. Let me Blacktail Center. I will go east. Minnesota. It was in Minnesota. I just wanted to make sure before I actually did this. Um There was a. I'm going to use the term that they use, and I'm going to use it loosely. Okay? I'm going to use that loosely. Um, going to fish for a couple of things. Um, and the reason I'm going to use the term protest quite loosely is, firstly, there are a couple of key things to a protest. Thing number one, I'm sorry, you have to. How do I put? In order for something to count as a protest, you have to call it. You have to be in a proper place in order for it to be a protest. And what do I mean by this? I mean, you have to, in order for it to be counted as a protest. Say if you're protesting a clinic that performs like if you're going to protest a clinic that performs certain medical procedures, you're not going to go to a church, right? No. You're going to a you're going to go to that clinic, and you're going to go and you're going to protest that clinic. Same with protesting certain groups of people. Okay? Same with protesting certain groups of people. You're not going to protest at a church. You're going to protest at a government building. That's how you protest. Protesting at a church uh, for something that is a government function, that does you no good. And when I say it does you no good, I literally mean it does you no good at all to protest a government function at the church. Number one, that directly flies in the face of, and I don't believe for a moment that this means what they think it means, but the leftists, they often kowtow separation of church and state, right? That's what they often say is the bee's knees, right? Um, and again, I don't believe it to be what many people try to make it seem. There is separation of church and state mentioned, not in the Constitution of the United States, but it was in a letter from the Dansbury Baptist, or to the Dansbury Baptist, saying that um not quite what they mean when they normally say um separation of it. It's there, but it's not there like people claim it. Um, but furthermore, they are more importantly impeding other people's right to worship and to do as they see fit. You are allowed to protest all you wish. Um, Protesting outside of the church would have been perfectly acceptable to do. But to go into the church, like you can't go, you shouldn't be able to go into the church and just stop service and shout at the top of your lungs while people are trying to worship the Lord. I'm sorry, you can get angry at me all you wish. For saying what I'm saying. But you gotta understand, I am just telling it like it is. Um, I don't mean to say this in a way that is rude or crass, but I believe, absolutely, I believe that people have the right to work or not to work as they see fit. Right? And if you are in somebody's space, if you are in somebody's, how do I put this? If you are in somebody's livelihood, and that's the thing that bugs me about it all. It's literally that a a bunch of people can just say things at the top of their lungs, and it's like, listen to me, listen to me. First off, if you want people to hear you, do something respectful. Like, okay, part of the reason I started this channel, again, I go back into why I do what I do. I'm sorry, it's being a pain in the butt trying to catch some of these, and I'm kind of frustrated, and I'm doing other things in the background. But as I was saying, and I say this with completely and with Christian love, as it were. If you want to make a difference, if you want to do whatever, um, I don't want to say whatever hate you're spewing because Um, but I mean this in completely in Christian love. If you really want to make a difference, do something respectful like start a channel or start a podcast. And it's really easy to do because here's the thing. I did it with literally I started with free computer software. Um I literally started with free software and the stuff that I already had, and it took off. At least it took off enough to actually enjoy. How do I put this? It took off enough that people actually enjoy it, and they they actually like watching what I do. And I mean this with utmost respect. I literally started with free software. Sorry, I'm trying to do all of these things at once. I need to put some stuff away. Um, and just wait. Um, but I started with the stuff I already had and stuff that was free, and it took off. And eventually, I had and I mean this truly. I don't want to get people mad and upset, But literally, I get on here and I talk every day. What do I mean when say I talk every day? I mean, I literally talk every day. I talk to you guys about life. I talk to you about what I want to see, what I don't want to see. And I talk to you about what I don't like and what I like. Oh, well, I'm not happy enough for that. I'm not shy enough for that. Or I'm not outgoing enough for that. Here's the thing. I say stuff here that I would never say to anyone in real life. Um, and I'm not saying that this is for everyone, but there are other ways to do this. There are websites, there are blogs, there are forums. Um, Create yourself a page and just say, I'm gonna post about all of my stuff here. I'm gonna post all of my opinions here. You could make some money off of that eventually. Um, I'm not anti people having an opinion and making money and that kind of stuff. You know, that's not what I like to do. I don't like to tell people what they can and cannot do in this case. I know that personally speaking, if somebody goes into a pro open border rant on their page, I probably won't look at it for very long, especially unless they have what I consider to be good argument. By the way, it's going to be very, very difficult for me to And but you're welcome to actually post that kind of stuff online. You know, I post stuff other places that aren't necessarily here that I how do I put this? I don't want this channel knowing about necessarily. I talk with people all the time online that on other places and go by other aliases that I'm not, how do I put this? I'm not, it's not something that I advertise because I'm not the biggest fan of some of the things that I do. There are things that I I don't want to say that I'm full blown ashamed of it, but you know, there are things I'd like to do a little bit less. Um, I what I mean to say is, um, create if you don't want a everything being public. Like I have this because I don't necessarily want um stuff that I say getting out into public. Um, I don't want my people um getting angry at me because I hate they think that I hate them. I don't hate anybody, by the way. I have a general love for everyone on this planet. Um, but I also don't enjoy. But I don't hate anybody. I really don't. Um, I have criticisms about the way people operate, and I have criticisms about some of the things people do because it irritates me. Just like I know it irritates all of you guys. Let me ask you guys this before I leave. Before I take my leave, and this will be kind of a rambling episode. Mainly because I'm trying to focus on a million things at once. I need to stop focusing on a million things at once and just focus on the one thing or the two things that matter. Um, but I really do dislike um how do I put this? I don't know. This is going to be a bit of a rambling episode. I apologize again. I'm doing a bunch of things at once, trying to operate a bunch of devices at once and trying to figure out how I'm going to go about it. I but I don't dislike people. I dislike behaviors. And I dislike laziness. Okay? I know that's very stupid to dislike laziness to a degree that I'm going to be honest, it ends up being rather um and that's really where I stand on it. It's not that I have disdain for anybody, it's that I dislike behaviors. And I think behaviors should be called out. I especially rude behaviors that are anyway. Um, but I'm one of those people. I think no matter who you are, bad behaviors ought to be called out. I've been called out a couple. Had to admit, hey, I'm wrong on this. Um, and some people who may uh, see this and may see my video, may see the channel, they may say, man, it's kind of rude of you to call me out like that. I'm not trying to call any one person out. You'll notice, dear viewer, I did not mention any names. I just mentioned behaviors. I'm not anti. Um, I'm not anti someone being different than me. My problem is they get in my face about being different and refuse to let me live the way I wish to live. My problem is that when I, for example, um, for example, like I was telling you, um, I have had in my life someone who actually got in my face and told me that I had to learn to speak Spanish. And he used the excuse of God speaks Spanish. By the way, I don't believe God speaks just one language. I believe God speaks every language on this planet. He can reach out to any person he wants to, and he can talk to anybody that he wants to. But he made it sound like God's exclusive language was Spanish. And this is a guy that I very much respect other than this. Okay? I very much respect. And I told him that I did try to learn Spanish occasionally, and I like the Spanish language. Both of this is true, by the way. I have tried to learn Spanish off and on, and I do like the sound of the Spanish language. Just like the just like I like the sound of a Scottish accent, right? But that does not mean I'm going to require everybody to speak in a Scottish accent for the rest of their life. Nor should a Hispanic person who comes here require every English speaking person to learn to speak Spanish. It shouldn't happen. Um, and yet the amount of people I come across that have come here, can I just be honest? They came here the wrong way. They came here across the border, as it were, and respectfully, they have required me to have asked me and said I should be required to speak Spanish because speaking English is harder than me learning Spanish. Guess what? Guess what? Here's the secret. Learning a foreign language, it's hard for anybody, especially if you did not grow up learning that foreign language. And what we've got now is we've got people that are being required in elementary school because of the amount of Hispanic people who cannot speak English, and some of them know how to speak it, but they refuse to speak it. This is another thing that bugs me. I'm on a roll here, but there are Spanish speaking people who can speak English but refuse to, specifically because they want their wives to take care of their business. I say again, they want their wives to take care of their business. That's how they operate. That is how they operate. That's how they do their business. That's how they literally. How do I put? I will. How do I do this? How do I put this in a proper way? Because I'm trying. I really am. I don't want to offend people. I don't go out to offend people, but the problem is I have these beliefs. And beliefs are like elbows. Everybody's got them, and they usually rub up against somebody else. And some people say, well, if you can't say anything nice, don't say anything at all. Well, the issue I have with that sentiment, and I mean this with the utmost respect and the utmost dignity, and I know I'm saying that over and over and over, but it doesn't make it any less true, right? I want people to understand that I want to live peaceably. I do. That is my goal. But the problem is when I say something that other people find offensive, it's the way the world works now. They don't like what I have to say. And hopefully some people who hear me say some of these things will not get so angry and offended because and this is why I'm holding back and this is why I'm stammering some, I'm trying to articulate it in such a way to where it doesn't make people just straight up angry and unsubscribe and block and not recommend what I do. Um, that's not what I'm out for. I don't want to offend people. I actually want to unite people. But here's the issue that we've got. We've got, in order to be truly united, we must be united in truth. And here's the issue that we have. We have in this world, how do I put this properly? Um, we have a problem because, like I said, we have to be united in the truth. And to be united in the truth, we must agree that there is truth. Okay, here's the issue. We don't agree that there's even truth anymore. There's not the truth. There is my truth and there's your truth, and if my truth conflicts with yours, I'm going with mine. We don't try to look at what the truth actually is anymore. Um, and that's the root base cause of a lot of strife in our society. Nobody wants to look at truth anymore. For example, okay, this is prime example. Going back to why I started this in the first place. The reason I started this in the first place was there was a um, gentleman at my work, right? And he was my supervisor. And he called me into the office 30 minutes early from my lunch break, had me clock in, which I since found out is actually illegal. And I mean this I mean this quite literally. How do how do I put this properly? And he proceeded to ream me a new one. He proceeded to tell me that my beliefs were hurtful, which to some people they could have been, but they were my beliefs. That somebody could have overheard. There was nobody but him who was in the office with the door wide open, overhearing me, which was the one with the beliefs, and a good friend. A very good friend who I very much enjoy talking with, and I haven't been able to find him in a good long while, so I hope he's well. Uh, but, literally, that's all that was there. But he said, oh, but your voice carries, and it does carry to a degree. There are times that my parents are in the next room asleep or down the hall watching TV and stuff, and they're like, hey, we can hear every word you're saying, you might want to down. Fair play. But that's why there should be a word of warning when somebody walks the break room. Hey, you may hear things you not like. Look it up, Buttercup. You know, that kind of thing. Because everybody's entitled to their opinion. He did not see it that way. He did not see it as, hey, don't break, he's entitled to his opinion. No, he saw it as, and as a result, your opinion should policy was not. And I can see where he came from, but I also understood that he was, how do I put this? He was coming at it from his own biases, right? And that got me thinking, you know, in a world where free speech can be dictated by policy and pers- by one person saying, I've been hurt, I've been offended, please take this meddlesome priest away from me, that kind of thing. Um, then what is the what where can you truly have freedom of speech and freedom of expression? Freedom to express yourself, right? That's what this is for. And that's kind of where I stand on certain things, and hopefully you guys can at least understand where I'm coming from. I regarding the um, Spanish speaking thing, as a final note that I meant to talk about regarding the situation with Spanish speakers and them just talking Spanish right in front of you. Um, in my town, there was a restaurant that the waitresses and waiters, the wait staff, basically spoke Spanish, and they spoke Spanish all the time. It wasn't until I got into high school that and started taking Spanish. Um, one of the guys in the Spanish class, um, in class we had Spanish moments, and we talked about how we used Spanish in everyday life. Um, and I said one or two times I was able to share some of mine. But one day a guy shared one of his, and it was rather funny, but it was also rather sad. Um, it was also rather sad, and we looked around and we smiled and we laughed, but some of us had a tear in our eye of the way it turned out. So here's the story. One of my buddies was at a Mexican restaurant, he discovered the wait staff was cussing him out in the middle of the restaurant in Spanish. In Spanish. Thinking, oh, this gringo can't understand me. Oh, this person cannot understand me. And look, you have the right to your opinion. But just know when you state that opinion and when you start insulting people in another language, which is what the man did, he started using some rather colorful language to describe um, my classmates. And I'm not going to say that all Hispanic people are this way because I know they're not. And I know it's wrong to make assumptions and talk about people, but it's also wrong to talk about people in another language that they cannot hear and insult them in that language and berate them and call them names and stuff. I and as a result of those bad experiences, and I've heard other stories of such things, right? And that's where I really have an issue is because they like to mock and they like to say, "Oh, this rarely happens." Okay, it still happens. What are you going to do about it? That's what I want to tell those people that say it. And like I said, I don't want to be angry and I don't want to get people upset, but people want to get mad at white folks for slavery and they want to get mad at white folks for some of the things that do. And I don't want to, like I said, I don't want to get angry at people. Okay? And I know I've said that before and I'll say that again. But it's true. I don't want people angry at me. I don't want to be angry at other people. I'll tell you what I do want though. And this is what really I want accountability from the other side as well. They want to blame all white people on racism. By the way, not exactly a bright idea. The first slave owner in America was a black man. Okay. By the way, not only was he a black man, but he was also a, bet you didn't know this, but he was a Muslim. He was one of the Moors. A good friend of mine uh, said he studied history, and the first slave owner in America was one of the Moors. He was a follower of Islam, and yeah, you can thank Islam for American slavery. Yeah, you most people don't know that, but you can. Um, and I mean this very well. I don't like um when people try to paint history in one way or another. We need to know the truth of history, and we need to know the truth of current events. And that's why I go about things the way that I do. But I also think if we and were there whites that owned slaves? Yes, there were whites that owned slaves. There were blacks that owned slaves. There were probably Native Americans that owned slaves at one or another. Everybody at one point or another has enslaved each other. And am I saying it was right? No, I'm saying it's happened and it will happen again, and it will happen over and over and over. As long as there is sin, there's a possibility of that happening. Can we hope for a better tomorrow? Absolutely, and I believe we should. But to blame one person or another for sin nature when everybody's guilty, everybody's at one point upset, everybody's angry, everybody is, they have their problems, they have their flaws. But we don't blame the people. Let me tell you what we do. We call out the behavior. That is why I I tell you the truth. I did not tell you any name, although I'm sure under my on my personal opinion that I was trying to find terms, guys, because bait is not, how do I say this? Bait is not used. Thread is, it's easier to use worms. Um um but we called out bad behavior, not people. We call out actions. We don't call out people. We call out the sin. We don't call out the sinner. And we don't mock. We don't, you know, wait, crappie. Anyway, that's where I stand on it. It's not really that I have disdain for anybody. No, I don't. But I do want people to understand I'm human. I make mistakes. And you're human. You make mistakes. We all make mistakes. I'm not saying we don't make mistakes, but we call out the mistake. We don't get angry at the person. And with that, I'm going to call it a night with one final. That's a big one right there. So I'm going to call it a night. And some people will say, when I say this, that I'm being rude, that I'm being crass. I may be sharing stories that I ought not share. They have the right to say, and it may be true. But those are my beliefs. That is what I think. That's where I stand on it. And with that, I'm gonna call it a night. Um, and I'm just gonna call this one rambling about things that bug me. About 2 hours and 30 minutes.